No matter what, people will commit to misunderstanding you. What's most important is your commitment to understanding yourself. Hello, you guys. My name is Nkira Madani, known as NK, and welcome back to Misunderstood. Coming to you live from the CoverGirl studio. This is my 6th month in the CoverGirl studio, and I am loving it here. I love all of the team, and everyone here has just been so nice and helpful throughout these past 6 months, and it is very exciting that I keep on getting to come back. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes, every single time I come here, they always have the studio decked out in product. And today they showed me their newest product, which is a Stranger Things collab with CoverGirl. I thought it was perfect to tie into this episode because we're talking all things fall, and Stranger Things, although I have not watched the show, it's very much giving spooky season fall vibes. So right now I'm holding the upside down eyeliner. This is in the shade Red. I also have the Crawl, which is a face and eye multi-palette, which has highlighter, eyeshadows, and blush. All of the colors are very much giving fall. I also have the Vecna's Curse pH Transforming Blush in the color Creole. And if you're wondering, the color is a deep purple. I was also just telling the team I really want to do a Halloween-inspired makeup look with these products. We all should be thinking about Halloween. I literally have to find my Halloween costume very soon. I think this is a perfect way to integrate some fun makeup into your Halloween costume. You must disconnect to reconnect. Today we are talking all things self-care and our detox routine for fall. I believe it is so important, especially as we're entering the colder months of the year, to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. I don't know about you, but I am very much focused on making sure that I'm taking care of myself in all of the ways, and this goes beyond physical. So today we are going to be talking about both physical and some mental ways you can disconnect for fall. Before we get started, take some time to rate this podcast, Misunderstood. 5 stars on Apple and Spotify is very important to the success of the show, to grow it and to reach more audiences so that I will be able to continue to bring you guys weekly episodes. This feels like a passion project, but also this feels like my purpose, and I'm really happy that I get to have this outlet in my life and also connect and help so many people. So if you're listening, I'm talking to you. Please take some time to rate Misunderstood, this podcast, 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you're listening. Thank you so much. I have 7 items that I want to talk about in regards to our disconnect to reconnect topic of today's episode. As I mentioned, these are all in the realm of self-care tips and detox routine advice for fall. These are the things that I've been doing, and these are the things that I'm sharing because I know somebody on the other end needs advice and needs some guidance and is seeking some direction and help with feeling better in this season. Fall basically just started, but I do feel like if we hear this up front, this will set us up for success. So let's begin. Number 1, get lost in a book. I have been on my reading grind and it has been so much fun. I am really happy that I have reconnected with this outlet that I loved as a kid. If you guys follow me on YouTube, you've been seeing my reading journey. I have read 1 book a month for this entire year, but in September, I read 3 books, and I was really proud of that. And I know 3 books doesn't seem like a lot. I know so many people who read 8, 9, 10 books plus a month, and that's great. But for me, because I fell out of love of reading and quite literally abandoned it for over a decade, getting back into it in this way means everything to me. I have found that I've been able to truly reconnect with myself through the act of reading. And by reconnecting with books, I've been disconnecting from the social media world, which has been so good for my mental health. If you're new to the pod, if you are new to me, hello and welcome. I have been in social media for the past 5 years, working full-time in social media management, as well as running my own agency. And I am also a content creator. And with that has come a lot of stress on my brain. So every time I read, I am physically not on my phone, which has been so good for my mental health. I was even thinking about this last night, how I would rather be sitting in bed reading than be scrolling on my phone. This is how I want to spend my time. And this is what helps me disconnect from the chaotic, crazy, addictive social media world and reconnect with myself, enrich myself in a book, and be overall happier, honestly. So as I mentioned, I read 3 books in September. If you're curious, the books are Beartown by Frederick Bachman, Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver, and The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. All of these books are 3 different genres. Beartown is fiction, Butcher and Blackbird is dark romance, and The Housemaid is thriller. And I'm so proud of myself that I read 3 books in 1 month, but also 3 different genres. After reflecting, I believe that really helped me expand my realm with books, expand my way of thinking in ways that I've wanted to. I think I've always been a little apprehensive and afraid of juggling books, but now I have seen it through and I know I can do it. So I'm very much looking forward to doing that practice again. If you're someone who feels like you're very restless and you are probably like me and are a very anxious person who grabs their phone every single second, I highly recommend getting into books. I've been talking to a lot of friends about books, which has been so much fun. And some of my friends were just like me as well. They didn't really read for a large chunk of their life and they started picking it back up again, and it's really helped them relax and indulge in a very fruitful way. Number 2, take a solo trip. You guys have heard me talk about this so many times on this podcast, but I am probably the biggest proponent of a solo trip. I've taken 10 solo trips so far, and every single one of them has taught me so much more about myself, and I have been able to reconnect with myself that much further. Why I wanted to bring this up in this episode is because I wanted to reflect on my Maine trip. I mentioned that I was going to Maine in quite a few episodes back, and I realized I never talked about it, but here's a perfect time to integrate it back into an episode because Maine specifically was such an amazing solo trip, but also I've heard from people who are from the East Coast that Maine is also a perfect place to go in the fall. I went in the summer, but apparently it is even more beautiful in the fall. So let's debrief. I went to Maine at the end of July. I went for 2.5 days. I rented a car. I haven't drove in New York by myself ever. It did give me a little bit of anxiety, but I conquered the journey. The drive from New York was about 8.5 hours to get all the way up to my Airbnb. From New York to the border of Maine was about 5.5 hours. I stopped at so many cute towns. I stopped at Ogunquit, Kennebunkport. I stopped in Portland. My Airbnb was in Otis. And then I also went to Bar Harbor and Acadia National Park. My favorite place of the entire trip was Bar Harbor. It felt like a nautical coastal storybook. Everything about it was beautiful and packed so much enriching culture into such a small place. It is tiny, but it had so much character, which I really appreciated. And I spent a few hours just walking around. I got ice cream. I went into different craft stores. I got a magnet. I always get a magnet wherever I go. And it was so lovely. My Airbnb was in Otis. A little snafu happened, which I did mention in my main vlog that I was going to share this on the podcast. So here we go. I was first confirmed for a specific Airbnb. It was confirmed up until literally the day before I was leaving. And the Airbnb host of that specific property actually turned out to not be a very good person. She was really rude to me via messages, and I screenshotted all of them and sent it to Airbnb. So I believe that there's some type of reprimanding happening or has already happened at this point. But Airbnb worked with me to very, very quickly find a new place to stay with less than 24 hours notice. It was the craziest experience I've ever had. I've been an Airbnb customer for a decade. I have such a long tenure with renting Airbnbs and I have great reviews. Nothing has ever went awry with an Airbnb experience. So what had happened there was so out of left field and it was really frustrating, obviously, but I am thankful that Airbnb rectified the situation. They gave me a credit to use for the new Airbnb and we ended up staying at a beautiful lake house in Otis. And when I say lake house, it quite literally was on the lake. It was this gorgeous lake and it was secluded. I was basically the only one there, which, yeah, that could be a little spooky. I chose not to think about it in a spooky way. The Airbnb owners were actually in their main house throughout the whole stay, which was great because I did feel like if anything did happen, they're literally a few feet away, which was perfect. But I had my own separate lake house, which was the cutest cabin. They decorated it so well. And the 2 mornings that I was there, I was able to wake up, open the blinds, and I'm looking straight at the water, and it was so serene. Why I'm telling you this story is because that was the best way I disconnected from the world and reconnected with myself. There wasn't very much service as well, which was perfect. It allowed me to stay off of my phone and be extremely present with where I was. I was at this beautiful property staring at water, which I love just staring at water. I'm not the biggest fan of being in bodies of water. I have this phobia with deep water, but looking at water and how peaceful it is just quite literally calms me down immediately. And being able to have the opportunity to be in that Airbnb was such a blessing. And it makes me think that even though there was a conflict that happened with the previous Airbnb, everything did quite literally happen for a reason. I was supposed to be in this beautiful lake house on the lake in a cabin, be able to wake up whenever I wanted, go sit on the roof, have my nice relaxing mornings, relaxing dinners to myself, journal, and just take in the beautiful nature of Maine. I highly recommend everyone take a solo trip. I cannot say it enough. I just want everyone to experience the power of a solo trip. It changes your brain chemistry. It allows you to understand yourself so well in ways that you would never understand yourself if you were with anyone else, if you were with a partner, with a friend, with your family. A solo trip is so important for every single person to take. So I hope that that inspired you to potentially go to Maine. I do have the entire vlog of my Maine trip already live on YouTube. I recommend you watch it if you're curious about recommendations for the exact places I went in Maine and the highlights of the trip. And I'll also leave the link for that YouTube video in the description of this podcast episode. Number 3, a digital detox. Everyone needs to do a digital detox. A digital detox is so important, especially if you are someone who feels like you cannot put your phone down. My screen time in the summer was really high. I'm proud to say that for the past few weeks, my screen time, I cut it in half, mostly because I've been reading so much, so I haven't been on my phone. But overall, spending less time on your phone is a digital detox. I had a friend who told me that she did a full week of no social media, and I was so proud of her. And it even inspired me to plan when I'm going to do it. For me, it's not as easy as just saying I'm going to do it for a week because, as I mentioned, I work in social media. So there are things I contractually have to do on a weekly basis. But I loved her intention with removing herself from the chaos of media and focusing on herself, quite literally disconnecting to reconnect with herself. That really, really inspired me. Aside from less time on your phone, I recommend editing your feed. I think this can be more powerful than a full-on halt on social media. Because if your digital space is a welcoming, positive environment, you don't need to do as many digital detoxes as you think. I think digital detox comes in when you are getting the life sucked out of you by what you're consuming online, which inherently means it's negative. So by editing what you see, you can change your brain chemistry and your perception on what you consume, and it'll be a more positive space. My first recommendation is remove people who don't make you feel good. A lot of people, myself included, I've done this for years. I literally have kept people around on social media just because, full stop. There wasn't even a true reason. I had so much anxiety about removing people on social media when it never has to be that deep. The only thing that matters is that your digital space is a happy, positive space. It's not about anyone else. I mentioned this in one of the first few episodes of this podcast, but I do a great unfollowing every single year. I do it at the end of every single year. where I go through my entire following on Instagram for the most part. I start removing people from my following and quite literally editing my feed so that what I'm seeing is what I want to see and the people who actually are uplifting and positive and not detracting from my peace. Another recommendation I have to add on to this topic is to not feel bad about not following someone. You've been in the situation where you're in a group of friends and someone asks, "What's everyone's Instagram?" And everyone shares their Instagrams. I have always felt so uncomfortable around those scenarios because there are so many times where I didn't even speak to certain people in the group. So there's really no point for me to then follow them on social media. I also had a few instances this summer where I was in a group of people and I'll be honest, I did not connect with every single one of them. I connected with some of them, but I didn't connect with all of them. And part of me felt guilty for not following every single one of them and just following a few. But after much reflection, I realized that there's no reason to feel bad about not following someone. If someone wants to take that personally, that's on them. But if you would ask me straight up, I would also tell them straight up, I don't feel comfortable following you. I don't feel comfortable with our interactions thus far. And I don't want to bring that to a space that I keep very, very near and dear to me. I want my space on social media and my digital space to be a uplifting space. I don't want to feel anxiety whenever I open the app. Number 4, junk journal for a week. I recently learned about this form of journaling. I thought it was a really cool concept, so I wanted to bring it here. Junk journaling is a creative practice of collecting and pasting everyday items into handmade notebooks and preserve memories and ideas. People often use recycled materials such as newspapers, fabric scraps, old tickets, and they can decorate it like a scrapbook. So essentially, junk journaling is just a different way to store your memories and thoughts and get inspiration from. I think about all the times that I have gotten a concert ticket or something handwritten from a friend or an embellished item that I love, and I put it in a little box and I just store it away, and there's nothing wrong with that. But because I love journaling so much, I really wanted to try this out and I wanted to bring this to the pod for anybody else who is like me, who loves doing crafty activities like this. This practice, again, helps you reconnect with yourself through the memories that you've shared with yourself or your friends or your family, visual representation that you can then share with others, and it'll be a keepsake for as long as you have it. Number 5, revamp your space for the new season. I think this is so underrated. Your space, your physical space, your environment plays such a huge part in your life and how you feel on a day-to-day. I love turning over my space every single season. I do a spring clean, I do a summer refresh, and now we're in the fall. And I personally love putting a few little fall decor pieces in my space. I like to change my bedding. I like to put seasonal candles in my space. These items seem very small, but they go so far with your mental health and your physical comfort in your space. I just turned over my room to my fall-inspired decor and I'm obsessed. It's actually also making me way more inclined to have the cozy nights at home, to have the more restful evenings, and I don't have that itch of needing to go out that much anymore, which I personally love. Number 6, block him. This is about the guys who love to circle back to you this season specifically. As we know, we're entering cuffing season, and something about these dumb boys is that they think that they can basically ghost you and then just reappear like nothing happened. Not to put too much emphasis on the art and entertainment guy. As I already told you guys in, I think 2 episodes ago, we ended things and it was the right decision. And I knew that from the get-go. However, he reached out to me again and it was grounds for blocking. It was absolutely grounds for blocking because he's trying to weasel his way back in and there's no tolerance for that. He was not a person who was treating me the way I was supposed to be treated and the way I deserve to be treated, rather. And after communicating that, you're still pushing my boundaries. And that is grounds for blocking. I love the block button. The block button is a beautiful button, and it will be used on any and all people who disturb my peace and fuck with my boundaries. This season, we are disconnecting from all the fuckboys, all the situationships, anything that's not meaningful. We're blocking and we're not saying bye. We are just blocking and we're moving on. And number 7, hobbies with your hands. This goes into a lot of things that I've already said, but I want to specifically detail the recent hobby that I did with my friends, and it's perfect for the fall season. My friends and I did pumpkin painting, and it was so much fun. We went to Target to get some supplies. Target has these hollow pumpkins. They come in orange and white. They're $12 each, if you're curious. They're a pretty decent sized pumpkin. We also got acrylic paint from Target. Target had this set of, I believe, 20 paints for $15, which I thought was a pretty good deal. We also grabbed paintbrushes from there as well. We got a 2-pack for, I believe, $6. So a pretty low cost activity. One of my friends just moved to Jersey. She had a very cute girls' night. We had dinner, and then we painted our pumpkins for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and it was so much fun. The video of how our pumpkins turned out is on TikTok. I thought it turned out so cute, and it was such a fun way to, again, just be off my phone and also to connect with my friends. It was a great way for us to share stories as well as become deeper level friends, which is a very strong theme throughout this podcast, where those are the friendships that I am looking for and those are the friendships I want to pour into. There's a lot of surface level people in the world. That's great. I'm not one of them. I'm in no way a nonchalant girl, and I'm no way a low maintenance friend. And I know that about myself. I've known that about myself for a very long time. So it's great that I'm connecting with girls who are also just like me, who want to pour into those type of friendships. We had so much fun. Our pumpkins were so cute, and also it's a perfect addition to the decor I can add to my space. And now that I have all these painting materials, I literally want to go buy more supplies to just paint on. Really lean into this hobby that I really enjoy. This summer, I did a lot of watercoloring, and now that I have a full-on paint set, I'm going to see what other things I can paint this fall. Other hobbies that are fun to do in the fall is pottery, scrapbooking. Specifically, hobbies with your hands is great to have you focus on something very intentionally. When you're working with your hands, you really can't do anything else. You have to be very present and intentional about what you're doing in that very moment, which for me means everything. This is very much how I'm able to detox from some of the things that really stress me out on a day-to-day and reconnect with myself. And just remember, this is the season for disconnecting. This is the season to really look inward and think about all the things that you love and to enrich yourself. We are entering those months of the year, and I really hope this episode helped in some way to get you inspired about all of the ways that you can take care of yourself this fall. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Misunderstood. Remember to rate the show on Apple and Spotify and follow it wherever you're listening. Join our Geneva group chat. It is always linked in the description of every single podcast episode. Hang out with me on my other socials, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest, and I will talk to you guys in my next one.